All right, let's start the regular meeting for January 24th, 2022, Township of Ocean Planning Board. Amy, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. DeFilia, Mr. Duffy, Dr. Fisher,
Here.
Mrs. Close,
Here.
Mr. Ciano,
Here.
Mr. Weinstein.
Here, but muted.
Okay. Mr. Beal, Mr. Adis, Mr. Bodnovich,
Here.
Mr. Carmonica,
Here.
and Chairman De Benedetto.
Here. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
States of America and to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation
nation
under
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
The notice of requirements of the open public meeting law for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the notice has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed in the office of Township Clerk on August 10th, 2021. Board policy: no new cases will be started after 10:30 p.m. and no new testimony will be taken after 11 p.m. Notice: all meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean Community Cable Channel, Channel 22, and Verizon Fios, and Channel 77 on Cablevision. First order of business. Mr. Lechstein, would you like to read this short wording on the Garrity?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is just a request for administrative change to a previously adopted resolution. And the only thing we are changing is condition C3 of the December 14th, 2020 resolution. It is now going to read: applicants shall be required to enter into a drainage easement with the municipality to cover all ongoing maintenance of stormwater management installations associated with the subdivision, the completed documents for which shall be finalized and shall be submitted to the board's attorney for his review and approval. And essentially, the only thing that's different from the previous resolution is the fact that it's now we're asking for a drainage easement rather than creation of a homeowners association. So we just need a vote on that resolution, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Does anybody from the board have any questions for Mr. Lechstein? If we're all clear, we'll do a roll call.
I need a motion to accept it first.
Okay. Well, first off, any questions from the board? Okay. I make a motion to approve the change.
I'll second it.
All right. Can we have a roll call?
I'm sorry, who second?
Mr. Carmonica.
Pete.
Okay, Dr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Ciano,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Mr. Winston, could you raise your hand? There it is.
okay,
Okay.
Mr. Bodnovich,
Yes.
Mr. Carmonica,
Yes.
Chairman De Benedetto.
All right. New case. Joseph Chiara LLC, block 3.03, lot 35, 5 Branch Road, Ocean, R-4. The application to subdivide a property into 2 lots with variances needed for lot width on both lots. Attorney for the applicant is Robert Whittick. Mr. Whittick, long time.
Hello there, Mr. Chairman, Dr. De Benedetto. How are you?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
I trust this will not create a conflict, given that you and I sat the wood for several years together working for Fred Messina.
Yes. Yes, I remember.
You're not going to recuse yourself, though, are you?
I don't think so. Mark, I don't think it matters that Mr. Whittick and I were lifeguards when we were kids.
No, I do not think it does.
Just thought I'd put it out there just to remind you of how much youth is wasted on the young. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too, buddy.
Let me, if I may, Robert Whittick, Witek, from the law firm of Resnikoff, and Whittick Long Branch. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and learned professionals, I have the privilege this evening of representing Joseph Chira LLC on this matter that comes before you. And I will defer to Mr. Lechstein in terms of notice, housekeeping, et cetera, before I begin presenting my testimony. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Whittick, and good to see you again.
Likewise,
Yes, so everything's in order as far as service. I would like to mark the following exhibits. Exhibit A1 will be the survey dated June 7th, 2021. Exhibit A2 will be the minor subdivision proposal dated October 8th, 2021. And those are the only exhibits I have from the applicant. From the board, I have the fire marshal's report dated January 19th, 2021. That'll be exhibit B1 as in board one. Exhibit B2 will be the traffic safety officer's report dated January 20, 2022. Exhibit B3 will be the board planner's report dated January 19th, 2022. And exhibit B4 will be the board engineer's report dated January 20th, 2022. And those are all the exhibits I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So usually, if it's more a complicated case, we usually have the attorney present all his stuff. But in this particular case, I would like Mr. Higgins to summarize his report first.
All right, let me just swear in Mr. Higgins then, and let me swear in both. I might as well get Bennett and Jim at once. Do our board professionals swear that the testimony they're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help them God?
I do.
I do. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, what I will do is summarize. This is a vastly oversized lot. It's 26,400 square feet in area. It's in an area that's actually transitional between the R4 zone, which permits 10,000 square foot lots, and the R5 zone, which permits 7,500 square foot lots. Everything about this application conforms, except for the width of the lots. The overall lot is just about 150 feet wide, and in order to subdivide the two lots would be little less than 75 feet wide. The ordinance permits or requires a 90-foot wide lot width in this area. And if this were an R5, which is two lots away, the 75-foot lot width would be permitted. So what's being proposed here is not only consistent with what's in the area, but also that the lot sizes still significantly exceed the minimum 10,000 square feet that the ordinance requires for the R4 zone. In addition, the site itself has 3 residences on it, on a single site. That's a pre-existing non-conforming condition that was affirmed by the zoning board late last year in a separate meeting, so that the three houses on that lot as they currently exist are legal. And this subdivision will eliminate that non-conforming condition and create 2 lots, each with a single family dwelling on it. And that would be much more conforming with the ordinance than the current situation. The only comment I have is that if any trees are to be removed during construction, the applicant should be required to comply with the tree removal ordinance that's currently in effect at that time. And I know Ben has a comment about whether or not trees will be removed during demolition, and I'll let him deal with that. But otherwise, I don't have a big problem with this application. I think it makes sense. It fits in with the neighborhood, and the lots again exceed the minimum area required by the ordinance for this zone.
Jim, did you say the R5 zone is only 2 lots away?
Like 2 lots away, yeah, roughly 2 lots away, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody from the board have any questions for Mr. Higgins? Okay.
No.
How about anybody from the public? Do they have any questions for Mr. Higgins? Okay. Bennett, Matlack, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Jim mentioned, one of my comments was to have the applicant testify whether any trees would be removed during construction as part of the demolition. Also, if you look at the plan, the new proposed property line bisects one of the buildings. So I want to get some clarification on the timing of the buildings being demolished. We don't want to create a variance by approving a subdivision. And then if the applicant could just also comment on outside agency approval, it looks like based on the required demolition, Freehold Soils permit for soil erosion and sediment control might be required, as well as a township road opening permit if the driveway is going to be removed. And that's all I have in my report.
And
Mr.
Mr. Chair, I would make it a condition of approval that the buildings all be demolished prior to the subdivision being effective. So that'll be a condition precedent to the subdivision.
Sounds good. Mr. Whittick, do you have any response to the questions Bennett Matlock has?
Chairman DiBenedetto, I think I can wrap up those questions that were raised by Mr. Matlock in about 15 minutes tops of testimony from my expert, Maeve Desmond, who I'm going to ask just briefly and only for purposes of the record once she's sworn. I just want to get some sense of what her credentials are on the record before I ask that she be qualified.
Okay. Mark, can
Let
you
me
do
just
the swearing?
Yeah, let me swear in. Do you swear any testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Maeve, Reader's Digest version, tell us your qualifications. Have you been before any land use boards and how frequently?
Sure. To start off, it's Maeve Desmond, M-A-E-V-E, Desmond, D-E-S-M-O-N-D. I'm a senior project manager with Insight Engineering, a Bachelor of Science degree from University of Delaware, a master's in city and regional planning from Rutgers University. I'm a licensed professional planner, and I have AICP certification. And I have testified before a number of boards, but not this particular board as of yet. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Leckstein, I'd ask that Ms. Desmond be recognized as an expert in planning.
I have no issues.
I
Thank
have
you.
none.
Ms. Desmond, you heard Mr. Higgins' testimony, right?
Yes.
And you had an opportunity to review his report?
Yes, I did.
And do you more or less agree with his findings and conclusions?
I do agree. I do agree that this is a reasonable solution for this property, and that I agree with his findings, yes.
And you would agree under Kaufman and its progeny that this clearly represents a far better zoning alternative than that which presently exists, right?
Yeah, I absolutely do agree that the Kaufman case is a perfect example of case law that supports this proposal. It almost exactly mirrors what we're proposing here, which is the creation of two conforming lots from a non-conforming lot.
In terms of use.
Correct.
And that use and the elimination of the density certainly outweighs any potential detriment there would be in terms of a relatively minor and more or less common in the neighborhood lot width. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. I believe this is a much better zoning alternative than what is on the site today. And it's definitely consistent with the pattern of development in the neighborhood.
Okay. I also assume that you were present when Mr. Matlock testified.
Yes.
And he raised a couple of concerns, and I trust that you heard those concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to address those in any response to satisfy the board?
Certainly. Would you like me to share the subdivision plan just so that we can see where the trees are relative to the proposed subdivision?
Please do.
Okay, one moment. All right, what you see before you is what we have referenced as Exhibit A2, which is the subdivision plan. It shows the existing trees on the property that have been surveyed. So we believe that the demolition can be completed without the need to remove any trees. And we also, the applicant will, comply with the tree preservation ordinance at the time of building permit when the proposed improvements are contemplated. At this point, we don't know for certain whether any, which trees would need to be removed, so we'll defer that to building permit. And with respect to the timing of the demolition, the timing of the demolition, that is anticipated to be completed prior to perfecting the subdivision to avoid the creation of variances.
So, Ms. Desmond, it would be fair to say that the characterization of the resolution to make a condition that
Can't really, we can't hear you at all, so.
I'm sorry, let's try this again. Ms. Desmond, can you hear me now?
I can.
There we go.
Everybody else? Sorry.
Much better.
Ms. Desmond, essentially what you're saying is that would the board see fit to grant the relief that we're asking for? A condition, if the board requested a condition to be that we would comply with any tree ordinances or replace any trees, that would be an acceptable condition based on our discussions with the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions from the board for Maeve Desmond?
This is Jim. The only, it's not really a question, but so much to point out is that you do have 4 trees that are directly adjacent to the paved area. And extreme caution should be taken not to damage the roots on the south side of those trees because they probably extend under the pavement. And those trees could wind up being killed if the removal of the asphalt isn't done very, very carefully.
We understand. I wonder how I guess we make sure the asphalt.
I would say a condition of the approval should be that if those trees are damaged or destroyed during the demolition, that they would have to be replaced, or I would say they would have to be replaced with 4-inch caliber trees.
I was going to say you would want large caliper trees on that, Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, the ordinance says that if you take a tree down that's greater than 6 inches in caliper, it has to be replaced by either 1 4-inch caliper tree or 2 2.5-inch caliper trees, or a donation. And the board has been fairly adamant that they would rather see the trees back on the site. And I think it'd be better to do the 4-inch caliper trees than 4 4-inch caliber than 8 2.5-inch caliber.
Okay. Ms. Desmond, I'm sure, and I know Mr. Chira's floating around somewhere, but I'm sure that's okay.
So it's going to be replaced with a 4-inch caliper tree if removed by accident or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
We kill the tree, we replace the tree.
But the goal is not to kill the tree.
Well, of course.
Yes.
I'll wind up in litigation against the paving company.
Any other questions from the board or board professionals?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, real quick, can you comment on any permits or what the plan is for the removal of the driveway within the right-of-way?
I'll take that question. If any disturbance when demolition takes place, if the disturbance is greater than 5,000 square feet, we will obtain a soil erosion and sediment control certification. And any other outside agency approvals at the time of building permit would be obtained as well.
Babe, just repeat that again, just a little bit louder, kind of cut out at the end.
Oh, sorry about that. Any other appropriate agency approvals at the time of building permit would be obtained but I think that is the only relevant one for purposes of demolition.
Okay, and to be clear, this is just for demolition. There's no proposed construction that would be taken care of at a later date, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
So, Mr. Chairman, that was my exact question. So we don't have a rendering of what may be going into this location at this time. We're just doing a demo and subdividing.
Yes, that's accurate, except for the fact there is my client has been in contact with an architect. There are renderings, but I wanted to see if I could, if the board wanted to see them in advance of the hearing. All I can tell you is that whatever's planned on being constructed is going to fit within the entire building envelope. So.
Right. So, Mr. Chair, there won't be any variances other than this width variance with these homes. If a new variance is necessary based upon the fact that the homes that are being proposed are going to be oversized in some capacity, they would have to come back here for further variance relief. So they'll be fully conforming dwellings.
Okay.
They have to be.
Okay.
Correct. I agree.
Anyone else have any other questions? Do you want to stop sharing your screen, Maeve? There we go. Anyone from the public have any questions?
Hi there. I have a question.
Amber?
Yeah, my wife.
Can
Let
you
me start,
state?
so let me just swear, let me swear you in.
Yeah.
Do you swear testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And what's your name?
Keith Chapman and Amber Chapman.
Keith Chapman. All right, Mr. Chapman, what is your address?
565 West Park Ave.
565 West Park Ave. Thank you.
Go ahead.
One of the questions I had is there's an electrical wire that currently feeds the property. It goes along my border and attaches to the back of their property. Is that going to be removed? Where is electric going to be brought in from? It's also cable too. And I recently had electrical work redone at my house, and the electrician said that currently would not be allowed anymore. I believe it's an old easement. I've only been here for about 12 years, and the house, obviously is about 1970s, and those are even older back there. So I'm wondering what's going to happen, because previously there have been problems over the years with shortages going back to that area. And it's, I don't want it there anymore.
Mr. Whittick?
Let me start, and let me start by saying this, and then I'll defer to Ms. Desmond insofar that she's able to provide any assistance. But I can assure you, sir, that whatever is approved, assuming that there is an approval, whatever improvements are done at this particular site are going to be done in a manner that is consistent with any building permits and inspections that are consistent with that, and any requirements of any utility provider, because whatever the utility provider is, be it the gas company, the electric company, cable company, they're not going to run a service unless they get out and approve it. That's why they come out and inspect before they turn the services on. So,
And that, however, when there is an issue there, I have to allow them access to my property. Therefore, I'm not going to allow access to my property to address that anymore then. And therefore, a new easement, a current easement will need to be addressed if that's the case. I don't believe that's the case anymore. I believe once it comes down, you guys are bringing it in from Branch Road and not from West Park. But that's why I'm here tonight, to find out where. And
so, Mr. Chapman,
what you guys said, if I understood what you said, you don't know the what exactly is going to be built and how, or you won't be able to answer my question.
Yeah,
Well,
Mr.
I don't-
Chapman.
I don't have a title.
Mr. Whittick, Mr. Whittick, if I may. So, Mr. Chapman, the way this works is whatever the easement is, the easement is. And that's really not a concern of this board because this is a board for zoning. We're not a board for construction either. So the electric company and the cable companies, if they have easements, that will all be sorted out between you and the cable company and the electric company and Mr. Whittick's clients. That will have to all be worked out. But it's really, really has nothing to do with this board because we don't have easements in front of us. We don't know what any of this stuff is. All this board is concerned about is for the zoning purposes, and these aren't really zoning questions.
Okay. How about drainage? Is that a zoning question or is that once it is construction?
So once the house is actually under construction, they'll have to meet all the ordinances which require proper drainage.
Will the level of the property be raised at all? I'm on the south end border of it.
That is not determined at this point. There are no proposed plans. There's no grading plan in front of us. That is to be submitted to the township construction department, and the township engineer typically reviews that to comply with the township ordinance. But the board here does not have a plan for what house is going there, what the grading is going to be, what drainage is going to be. We don't know that at this time.
Okay. From the property to the, so I guess that one you can't answer either. From, I guess the setback is 10 foot. Is that's the current within the zoning?
So they'll have to meet all the current setbacks when they build. Otherwise, they'll have to be back at this board for future variance relief.
And Mr. Lexington, we've stipulated that that's going to be, we're not going anywhere an inch beyond the building envelope.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Okay. I move to close the hearing. Can I have a motion to approve the subdivision?
I'll make a motion
to approve it.
Can I have, is that Mr. Ciano?
I'll second it.
Second it. We're roll call, Amy? Oh, I should say, we're making this approval based on the fact that if the trees, right? Mr. Lexington, why don't you go through the conditions again? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Too bad.
So it's going to be compliance with the engineer and planner's letters. If all the buildings have to be demolished as a condition precedent to the approval. And the applicant's going to comply with the tree preservation ordinance when building. The goal is that none will be removed during demolition, but if one is removed, it will be replaced by a 4-inch caliper tree.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I agree. I just have one question, Mr. Lexington. You said something about something being contingent on an approval.
No, the buildings, before you can effectuate the subdivision, these buildings have to be removed from the site because one of the lot lines runs directly between the building.
Understood.
So, okay.
Never mind.
That's what I said. Yep.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You're starting to look just like your father, by the way.
That's scary.
Not so much.
His father was better looking.
All right, let's start over. So can I get a motion to approve the subdivision with the conditions that Mark Lexstein has spelled out for us?
I make a motion.
All right, and can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, Amy?
Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Ciano,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mr. Bodnovich,
Yes.
Mr. Carmonica,
Yes.
and Chairman DeBenedetto.
Yes. Okay. I'd like to say Happy New Year to everyone.
Yes.
And
Doc?
look forward to seeing you on, what's that, February 28th? Is that correct, Amy?
Well, I'm sorry.
The next meeting is February 28th.
I believe so.
All right.
Well, I just want to
My
say,
calendar.
everybody, I'm going to sign off. Dr. DiBenedetto, it was great to see you. Amy, thanks for all your help again.
Of course.
Good to
Thanks,
see you,
everybody.
Robert.
Yep. Have a great night, all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Make a
welcome.
motion to close the meeting.
Motion to close.
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good
Still
night.
got to vote. Still got to vote, guys. Still vote.
Yeah, we got to finish up here.
Finish a vote.
Okay, Dr. Fisher.
You can do
Yeah.
that, Amy, you can do that by all in favor for a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.